Okay, so friend was having some trouble trying to get the PPU out for an NESRGB mod. So I'm gonna do a quick overview, see what I can do to spell out how I do things, and see if they're any more helpful for folks who are trying to do that. Shoot. There we go. So full disclosure, I've already done a lot of work on this board. Obviously, I took out the RF and I put in a new power plug here, and I recapped it, I believe. But I haven't done the NESRGB yet. I don't have the board yet. Originally, this was for a friend who just wanted composite and has since decided that he's fine just sticking with his toaster for right now. So we're going to do something a little different and see if we can't. Hold on a sec. Need to change my mic type here. There we go. So we're going to see if we can't pull the PPU on this real quick, just for demonstration purposes. So the first thing we're going to do is open up the shell here. Try and do most of this on camera if I can. I know that's helpful. You can actually see what's going on. Okay, I'll set that case off to the side now. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 main screws for this. This is the NES top loader as opposed to the AV Family, which has an extra 2 over by the multi-out. Do those 2 real quick. And then these 3 here. And again, this is just for demonstration purposes, so I might make a mistake or 2, but I'll try and go over the process as best I'm able to and make it accessible for everybody else. Okay, let's take the top RF shielding off. That won't be used, the NESRGB. Okay, and here we are. You can see the bottom shielding here. We're going to take off as well. And this is mostly where we're going to be working. Right here. And each one is labeled here, so you can kind of see. There's PPU. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. Okay. And there's PPU and CPU. So we're going to be pulling this guy off today. Should be the south-facing one here. And do my best. I'm going to take a sec here and fix the lighting. Hopefully that'll give a bit more visual distinction about what's going on here. Okay. So now I've got my soldering iron here that's all hot and ready to go, and I've got this guy here. So I'm going to set my iron here a little hotter to 800 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's just to make sure I can get everything in, do everything I need to. Now my solder sucker is set to 700 right now. I think I might pump that up to 750 just to make sure I get that all dialed in right where I need. It'll be a second till I need the solder sucker. So to start, I just got a regular chisel tip on here. Double check, that's the PPU I'm going to be working on. Yep. Zoom in a little closer here. So I'm going to really just wet these joints down real solid and make sure I get them just where I want them. So we have, 30-year-old solder on here, and we really want to make sure we can loosen that up as best we're able to really get the most you can. A lot of these have real big ground planes on there that are just big old heat sinks for these pads. I'm not too worried about burning the pads off, but more physically removing them unintentionally, and we want to avoid that. So I'm going to leave the iron on there. It's hot. It's 800 degrees, but we're just making sure that solder flows into both sides, really wets that joint real solidly so that when we try and suck it all up, we can get the full solder top and bottom and just do the best job we can here. A little more slack to work with. I need to get one of those fancy solder rollers, solder dispensers. Try and keep the light here. So I'm just putting a bit of solder on each joint and leaving the iron on there and giving it some time to really melt through and flow and get that joint all nice and wet, so that when we go back to pick it up with the vacuum, that we really get all the solder from each of these pens. And it's going to make a big difference just with the ability we have really get in there and to pull it off.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
And you can see how much solder I'm putting in there. This is a pretty fine solder here, but it's going to go in there. It's going to populate that full via top and bottom, the whole through hole, and be really metallurgically really mixing with the existing solder to soften it up and loosen it up, so that when we go to take the vacuum out, we get all of it, top and bottom, and get a real clean through hole there. And you can see it's all nice and shiny. And if you look close, you can actually see which pads are working where. Let's see. Need some better lighting on this. Let's see if I can't get this a little bit better. It's not liking that too much. I'll do the best I can here. Okay. Lighting's not ideal, but you can see all these are pretty shiny on this side. And these ones are kind of dull because the old solder, 30-year-old solder that's just been built up there. So let's keep going. We're almost halfway done here. Just want to really leave the iron tip on each of these pens to really let it seep in there. Really get in there. Almost there. do each for a solid, 1, 2, 3 count after the solder's already applied. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. There we go. So now we have all these joints all ready to go. And now I'll try and do this on camera as much as I can. So it's really important when you're going in there to the pen, so you can kind of see, you don't want to dig into the board because that'll mechanically remove those pads that are there. So we're going to go as close as we can, but I'm not touching the board with the tip. I'm just keeping it on the pen and moving it around, leaving it on there for a couple seconds, getting all the heat into the top and bottom, wetting that fully, and then hit it with the vacuum. And that'll give us a nice, clean joint there. And so there won't be any fuss, and we need to actually pull it. So you want to avoid actually digging the iron, especially when it's hot, into that board, because that's how you damage the traces and the little through holes. You want to leave these pads intact as much as possible. Doing a good job. Almost there. Solid 1, 2, 3 count. 1, 2, 3. And just make sure we get those vias, those little through holes, as clean as we can. You can kind of see here. And it really just helps. Make sure you get a clean extraction without chip. Working a little further away than I normally do. Helps if I plant both my hands on the table, and then I can just use small movements in my wrists. 1, 2, 3. Number 4. 1, 2, 3, and get all those extractions down. I'll start off on the other side now. 1, 2, 3. Almost there. Okay, and that should be all of them. So now we're gonna visually inspect, make sure all the little pins can move freely. Looks like a lot of them are. Just wiggle them a bit. Oh, see, a few of them are a little sticky. But then you should just be able to push the pad right out and just fall right out, just like that. Show the thumbnail. Real light and easy. And that's how we can get nice clean extraction from that PPU. So I hope this is helpful. I hope that somebody can see this and do a better job and make sure that, you know, they don't damage their board at all, and hope that helps.